that data analytics should be available for everyone and not just IT support. Event professionals should be able to explore the data and identify interesting insights to help them grow their business. With that philosophy in mind, we designed an interface that we believe can be effectively used by the most junior event coordinator to the executive director. And I can attest at my old organization, 340B Health, my junior staff were very comfortable using the system. Since it has a responsive design, Nucleus is built to run on any interface, including your browser, tablet, or phone. This is very valuable when you are at your annual meeting or board meeting and you want the most up-to-date registration numbers. And Nucleus pulls in the data from any of your source systems like your AMS, email, marketing, or even your event registration system, but it then blends that data and creates brilliant visualizations to answer key questions that are important to you. So let's talk about typical association goals. These are three that are very common at most organizations: increasing membership renewals, increasing member engagement, and growing your annual conference, which is really the topic we have today. And I have three examples of three association examples who are having great success growing their conferences. Like all associations, preparation time for the conference is enormous. Generally, there are lots of lists, reports, and metrics that you need to develop. And if your registration solution is split from your AMS, it's even doubly difficult. With Nucleus, the AFP was able to reduce their conference planning time by 75% in the first year. Our second success story takes place at the Illinois Principals Association. Like most organizations, they hold an annual conference and offer many other events during the year. They've had lackluster registration numbers recently until they were able to identify actionable insights using Nucleus. Using Nucleus, they were able to track the messaging that was most impactful to certain segments of their members, such as things like who are millennials. They decided to set a goal and challenge their chapters to increase their registration numbers. They provide the chapters with support by identifying relationships, segmenting the data, and targeted messaging that would resonate with their chapter members. As a result, they grew their conference by a very solid 30%. The last example that I want to show you today is the American Medical Informatics Association. This association is actually a leader in the science of how to use data. In spite of that, they still have their own challenges. And one of their challenges is retaining their newest members, those that are defined with tenure of 0 to 4 years, and also attracting them to conferences, events, and webinars. By using Nucleus, they were able to track the topics that most interested this group. Once they identified what most interested them, they created webinars and conference sessions and marketed these opportunities. As a result, their conference registration for that segment grew a whopping 1,000+% from 2016 to 2019. And as an added benefit, they also enjoyed a 10% improvement in membership renewals. So how is all this possible? Well, let me tell you a little bit about the way Nucleus works. First of all, there are 4 components. The first one being the data lake, and that's where we store all the data. This data can be structured or unstructured, but it's going to be a lot of data when you take data from your email marketing tools, your community tools, and so it has to be very fast. So that's an important component. The second component, and really the secret sauce, is the processing pipeline. That's where we pull all the data together, we blend it, we sometimes transpose it, and we then provide it in a usable format for our intuitive interface, which are then become visualizations, which is our third component. The last component is the actionable output, where the processing pipeline is the secret sauce. The actionable output is really where the ROI happens, which allows you to actually start that marketing process by exporting segments of data that you found, where you found real insights. A little bit more on the blending. When you talk about that, this is what the processing pipeline does. It takes data from whatever source systems you want. In this particular example, I have 4, the association management system, e-marketing, social, and obviously an event registration system. And it brings all that data together so that you can sort and filter all the data by all these different types of information. We also transpose some of the data by making it more easy to use, such as taking the age of somebody and turning it into generations, which makes that a very easy filter to access. Where do we get the data? Well, we use all the various industry standard tools that are being used in the market, whether they're AMS systems. I've starred the event applications that we have integrated to. Certainly all of the AMS systems also have event registration systems. And if you don't see one of your systems on this list, we have a very sharp group of developers who will then quickly bring your solution online and bring the data into Nucleus. So with that, I'm going to turn the next step of our presentation today over to Brandon, who's going to demo the software. But I want you to please note that he is using live systems of our clients. So you will be seeing real solutions in action, and you will be seeing the type of speed that you would expect to see if you were using the system yourself. So take it away, Brandon.
Great, thanks, Rob. So just one second, everybody, while I pull up the Nucleus sites here. So you should be able to see on your screen now what the inside of a Nucleus site looks like. And so we're going to start off with AFP. And so that's the Association for Financial Professionals that Rob was mentioning a little bit earlier. And as we talked about, their main challenge, or one of the things that they really wanted to make sure they accomplished in their first year of a data analytics initiative in using Nucleus, was reducing that time to insight and giving back their staff as much time as they can to not spend on reporting and making sure that they're doing the right types of things from a data standpoint. And so this is where the main points of Nucleus come into play, and what I'm going to try to display for you in this particular site. So when we log into Nucleus, the first thing you'll notice on the screen are what we call data cards, and these are really just the highest level of analytics within Nucleus. So they're separate data points. Each of them has an explore link that's at the bottom of the screen, and all we really need to do is just click explore, and that's going to take us down deeper into any of these individual metrics so that we can take a look at that on a deeper level. So when I do that, the first thing that you'll notice is that they are using something called loyalty status to track their event registrants. And so part of what Nucleus helped them do is through that processing pipeline, what we're doing is we're putting in definitions of what all these loyalty statuses are. So for instance, a loyalty member or a loyalty registrant is somebody who's attended 3 out of the last 5 years the conference has taken place. A skipper is somebody who's come 2 out of the past 5 years, and else is anybody who's come one time out of the past 5 years. And so those were all manual things that were happening behind the scenes. Somebody was actually going and doing that in order to receive a report about these particular loyalty statuses from AFP standpoint. Now with Nucleus, that's all automatic, so that whenever they log into their event registration analytics, they're able to just go ahead and use that new loyalty status as a filter and take a look at all the different metrics and things they want to track around those particular loyalty statuses. The next thing is that down here at the bottom of the screen, you're probably going to see something that's very familiar to you, and that is a pace chart. Well, that's why I called them anyway. So here we're essentially looking at, right, 0 is where the event takes place, 30 is 30 weeks out from the event. Actually, this is the early registration. So this is where their early bird ends, and this is 30 weeks before that. And so basically what Nucleus allows us to do is pull in data from the event registration system in real time and commingle that with all the other data that you have about your registrants in the other source systems that you're utilizing. And so over here on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see where the real power of Nucleus starts to come into play. And that allows us to go ahead and start filtering these registrants by a number of different criteria. One of the things that we've seen organizations who are utilizing Nucleus do is start to classify their members into different personas or statuses or job levels so that they can really put people in groups and track how they're responding to things like event registration, email marketing, and things like that. So over here on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see a job level filter, right? And what that quickly and easily allows me to do is click financial executives, right, or management level. And so what we're taking is all of those titles of financial executives and bucketizing them into a filter that's easy for this client to go ahead and then utilize. So if I click this off here, you're going to see that the visualization is a live visualization, and it goes ahead and it updates for me. And now I can see the registrants that have come through in that particular job level, right? And so it's super simple. If you wanted to add additional filters on top of that, you just click into one and you go ahead and add that up. You're going to see, all the filters that you're utilizing up here at the top right of the screen. Also, at any point in time when you're working inside of Nucleus, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here, you do have access to the data table that is making up the visualizations above. And so this is where, we're going to see one long membership table of all the information that we have stored about these registrants. Again, because we're commingling all the data together, it's all the data from all the systems that this particular client is utilizing. And so if I scroll to the right here, I'm not going to do that because I think their names are actually over here and I don't want to show anybody's name, but you'll see all those fields here. You can go ahead and download this to CSV or JSON, which is a data analyst format, and use it as maybe an email marketing campaign, a tool, to help you analyze things a little bit further. Also, at any point in time, you do have the ability to download the visualizations that you're currently looking at into a PDF via this print button down here at the bottom of the screen. All right, so this is really just the first example that I wanted to walk you guys through, and it was just to give you a base of how Nucleus works and some of the things that our clients are trying to do in kind of their first year and the first effort of utilizing this tool. So the next example that I will move into is IPA, so Illinois Principals Association. And their main challenge was, one, they wanted to be able to prove that their annual event was something that they should continue doing. So in years prior to utilizing Nucleus, they were seeing declining registration, and they wanted to really turn that around and figure out the ways that they could do that. And one way that they thought might be helpful was through gaining more engagement with their chapters themselves, right? So increasing their engagement with their chapters, asking their chapters to go ahead and produce X amount more registrants based on what they did in the previous year. And the way that they did that is because Nucleus is a site license and not a seat license, you're able to give access into these types of analytics to anybody that you want, right? So it could be your most junior person, it could be all the way up to your board members if you're brave enough to give them access into the site here. And so basically, when you look at this particular carousel, one of the things that you're going to see, and we're looking at the 2020 goal here, so that's why it looks a little low. We're going to see, how we're performing it against that particular goal. And this is one of the things that we really like about Nucleus is that because the data flows in real time, anybody can log in and see how you're performing against those goals at any particular point in time. You're also going to notice that when we move over to the next card here, which we're taking a look at, it's registrants and revenue over the last 3 years. And in this case, you're going to see that 30% increase from 2018 to 2019. Right? And as I mentioned, the way that they did that was by giving their regions or their chapters access into Nucleus or into data analytics and incentivizing them, right? So they made a little bit of a friendly competition where the chapter who increased the most won a prize. And so when we look at their registrants of their top 5 regions here, you're going to see, who that region was, and you're also going to be able to explore down deeper into this particular visualization. And what it's going to show me are all the registrants that came in each of their regions that are listed down here at the bottom of the screen, and the revenue that was generated from each of those regions. As well as this orange dot here, right, is the average revenue that came in from a registrant within one of those particular regions. And so as you'll see, when we move through different sites, the filters that this client is utilizing are completely different than the filters that AFP was utilizing. And so some of them may be the same, but some of them may also be different. We want to make sure that we're pulling in what's important for you to be able to use and analyze your events specifically. And so you'll notice things like region, like grade serve because they work with schools. But this is one of the ways that they gave their chapters access into visualizing what they're actually doing and kind of tracking that internally for their organization. And so, as they predicted, if they increase their engagement with their chapters themselves and ask them to go ahead and, take some control of the scenario, right, they saw that 30% increase in their event registration. And if we look at their pace chart, for instance, you're going to see almost parallel growth from the previous year. Also, through utilizing Nucleus, they determined that they were going to start 3 weeks earlier. And so that's why we see this piece here too. All right. So the last example that I want to walk you through quickly here is AMIA, which is the American Medical Informatics Association, and their story actually kind of starts in the membership area and moves into events. And so I'm going to start with talking about what their goals were in membership, and I'll show you how it kind of flowed over into other business areas for them to be able to monetize that as well. So when AMIA came to us a few years ago, basically they had already identified that members in their 0 to 4 years of tenure bucket were their most volatile. And so by that I mean, and I think it's a common problem for associations, is that they were the least likely to engage, they were the least likely to renew, they were the least likely to attend an event, to do anything really. And so they already knew that coming into this process. And so what they really wanted to do is find out what else can we learn about our members, and not just those in 0 to 4 years of tenure, but those in other areas too, in order to engage with them more effectively. So again, when we look at the membership carousel, we see things like the goal, their total number of current members. And so again, this brings in the definition of what a member is to this organization, right? They've set an organization-wide accepted definition. Everybody's working from that same definition because the processing pipeline is automatically putting that and displaying it here for us, right? That doesn't mean they can't explore and filter by different criteria, but everyone's starting from the same starting point. And so when we scroll to the right here, and this is the reason why these are called carousels, I'm not sure if I scrolled at all earlier, but here you're going to start to see things like that length of membership. And this is why members in 0 to 4 years of tenure were particularly important to them, that their biggest bucket of members here, right? So it's important for us to be able to know about them. How do we engage with them more effectively? And that really started with identifying a few key things. So one is, where are they, right? Are they in particular states? Are they in particular countries? And how does that affect how we communicate with them and what we communicate to them? And so these visualizations, as I explore down deeper into them, they are again live. And so if I wanted to be able to do something by geographic regions, for instance, I can just go ahead and click off Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Virginia, right? And now I'm seeing all of the members who belong in those particular states. And I have, again, those same additional filters over here on the right-hand side of the screen to be able to narrow that down further. So if you're looking for a marketing list or something like that, a very quick and easy way for you to query your database and pull out exactly who those members are. One thing I like to point out about our geographic visualizations too is that if there are other geographic breakdowns that are important for your organization, whether those are internal regions or congressional district, county, as long as there's a way for us to delineate that, we can go ahead and create a geographic visualization for you. So for now, I'm going to skip over some of the cards for retention here, and I'm going to move to these ones. I may come back to them in a little bit if we have time. But basically what I wanted to show you is the next step in their membership journey in trying to capture retention, for instance. So here, when we take a look at things, you know, they work in the medical industry, so they have members who work in a variety of different settings. And again, it's taking criteria that's a part of their membership profile and determining where to place them, and that all happens automatically, right? So we know based on someone's title or something like that to place them into this academia bucket. So again, just figuring out, okay, what setting are they in, what's their profession, what's their area of expertise, right? So this will then allow us to communicate things more effectively. But the key thing here is that when this client started to bring in their higher logic information, so that's their community information, they were really able to see and determine exactly what members were talking about, right? So instead of guessing, let's go to the source and find exactly what they're interested in. And so when I click in the community carousel here, one thing that I want to show you is their discussion activity, and this is just showing the last 3 months, but basically it's showing us all the replies, new topics and replies that are happening within their community. So when I click explore here, you will see all the new topics and replies over a span of time, right? So we were going back to May 2018. You'll see these types of sliders frequently within our tool, but that just allows us to adjust the date range down here at the bottom. And so again, because we're blending the data from different sources, right? You may not have all of these things that you have stored about your members in your AMS or other systems in Higher Logic for you to be able to analyze something like this in Higher Logic itself. And so one of the things that they did is they just simply went to that length of membership filter. And when we click on 0 to 4 years of tenure, it's going to show us what members in 0 to 4 years of tenure are actually talking about and engaging with us on. And so when I do that, you'll see again, it updates the visualization. I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom of the screen and open up the data table. And so what this allows me to do is that there is a column in here, which is this guy right here, that allows us to see the topic that this particular post or reply was on. All right, and so through analyzing the topics that members in 0 to 4 years of tenure were talking about, they were able to identify that there were 4 key areas that they were most interested in. And while this is not all of their members in 0 to 4 years of tenure were not active in their community, but some were. And so they were able to make some educated decisions around, do we want to market about these opportunities and these benefits that we offer, right? And so one of the things that this particular group of people was interested in is clinical informatics. And so when we look at the clinical informatics conference, which is over here on the left-hand side of the screen, we're going to see some goal information for their conference this year. And we're also going to see how their registration is increasing over the past 3 years. But what's really important, and what I really want to show you here, is that because they were able to identify things that their members were interested in, right? They not only saw that increase in retention, which is again about 10% overall for all of their members. We click into the Explore link here, and we're going to see again those same similar page charts that we're used to seeing. But when I look at this length of membership filter, and I go to 0 to 4 years of tenure, and I see how many registrants came in over the course of time, right? When we look at, for instance, 2016 or even 2014, where they had 1 registrant in 0 to 4 years of tenure, and we compare that to 2019, where they've got 217, that is a dramatic increase. And if they're trying to capture more engagement from those members, I would say they're succeeding based on the information that we're seeing here. And so that's basically, some of the ways that, utilizing Nucleus can help you grow your business, not even in just the way that you intended originally, but once you have access into visualizing your data from all of the different sources in one place, you start to find and discover things that you didn't expect as well. So that is it for me today. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Shepard here, maybe, to Rob, I'm sorry, and we will go ahead and wrap up.
Great, thanks, Brandon. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Well, we've shown you some successful examples from our clients using Nucleus. Every association is different, as you know, and we're here to speak to you about those directly with you. So we encourage you to give us a call or send us an email, and we'll chat about what your challenges are as it relates to data, and hopefully we can be able to direct you towards some answers. And with all of our webinars, we have recorded this, and we will be sending out a link to it for all of you who have attended, and we encourage you to share it with your colleagues at your organization. And for those who have sent in questions, we thank you. We will be responding to each of those directly. And finally, we'd like to thank you and wish you to have a wonderful day.